Good evening and welcome. This is the Friends of Wheeling Tour for April 23rd, 2024. We are at 2310 Chapline Street and a tour of a building in progress. So let me tell you a little bit about the history. This is our Friends of Wheeling Tour, as I said. We try to do something like this each month, and if you are not a member and would like to join us, please do so. You can contact us through our Facebook page or in other ways as well. So the history of this house, let's see what we can find out in studying it. This house is a contributing structure in a National Historic District. It's the Center Market, the Center Wheeling Historic District with a boundary increase, and that was nominated in 1986. That nomination defines this property as I said, a contributing structure and estimates its date of construction as 1870. The nomination's description reads, a fine example of Greek revival, this three-story house has a handsome classical cornice with medallions decorating the overhang. A similar cornice is found along the full-width porch. The door and glazed at that point leaded bevel glass surrounds are typical of Greek revival. The porch appears to have been added or at least significantly remodeled in the 1920s. So when you go back outside, take a good look. And if y'all could step in a little bit to make a little bit more room, thank you. Trying to pin down the actual date of construction proved to be problematic, so I can't put an exact date on it. But there is an 1871 map of the area which shows a property here on lot number 183, which is in the legal description, and it is labeled G. Hastings. And I have a copy of that map here. This will be attached to Joanne's pictures when they're posted. Deed records show that the property was purchased by William Hastings in 1856. William Hastings was a son of George Hastings Sr., hence the G, or the Hastings on the name. George Hastings' wife and William's mother was Marietta. Her maiden name was Brinton. George Hastings was an Irish immigrant who worked as a heater in a rolling mill, and it appears from Wheeling City directories that he, his wife, and several other children lived at this address, while son William, in whose name the property is listed, and William's wife and children lived in another part of town. William Hastings turned out to be more interesting than George, though. He was a very prominent citizen, and as such, he had a big obituary. Now, typical of the time, his obituary goes into great detail as to how he died. The December 9th, 1889 Wheeling Intelligencer says, for the past 3 years, Mr. Hastings has been considerably annoyed by lung trouble, but it did not interfere to any great extent with his work, and he did not consider it of a especially serious nature. Saturday he was at work as usual, and in the evening spent 2 or 3 hours with his children before retiring. He appeared to be in the best of health at that time. About 5 o'clock yesterday morning, he awakened his wife complaining of a severe pain in his chest over the lungs. He breathed with difficulty and was in such an alarming condition that a physician was sent for. All efforts to relieve Mr. Hastings were useless, and he grew weaker and weaker, the heart apparently refusing to act. You don't get obituaries. How old was he when he died? He was 56. The obituary continues stating that he had been born in Pennsylvania and after moving to Wheeling had begun his working career in the rolling department of the Belmont Mill. When the Civil War broke out, he joined the local militia, starting with his company to Grafton to protect the B&O Railroad. At the depot, he was, quote, accidentally shot by a member of his own company. The ball passed clear through his body, and the wound always annoyed him some. Returning to Wheeling, he worked for a while as a bookkeeper for his brother-in-law before returning to work in the mill. Around 1870, he accepted the management of the top mill until 1877, when he took charge of the rolling department of LaBelle Nail. Following his death in 1889, this property was left to his widowed mother, Marietta Hastings. She lived here until her own death in 1898, and then left the property to the rest of her children. There is an 1884 Sanborn insurance map of Wheeling. Now, if you're not familiar with those maps were created by a fire insurance company and were used to determine the fire insurance rates of various properties. And so these maps would indicate whether a property was brick or frame, how many stories, and would have a design of the footprint of the building. Unfortunately, the 1884 Sanborn map did not include this neighborhood. But the 1902 Sanborn map does. However, it shows a two-story brick structure adjacent to the Chapline Street M.E. Church, which was under construction at the time, and that church still stands next to us, although it does not appear to be in use at the time. So I have a copy of that map for you to see. Now, the 1921 map shows a similar building footprint to the 1902 one, but it labels the house as being 3 stories in height, with a frame front and back porch. So was the earlier map mistaken on the number of stories, or was a 3rd story added sometime between 1902 and 1921? We don't know. Now, I looked at the outside when we came in, and it looks like a slight change in brickwork between the 2nd and 3rd stories. So take a look when you leave. However, if you look at the side of the building, there's no evidence of an addition there. So that remains a mystery. The Hastings family continued to own the property until 1930, when it was sold to Mary Hastings, the widow, sold by Mary Hastings, who was the widow of Solomon Hastings, who was a younger brother of William, the original owner. The new owner was Florence O'Rourke, the widow of Frank O'Rourke. I could find nothing about them, and they only owned the property for about 2.5 years. Florence O'Rourke sold the property in the spring of 1933 to Margaret Vollinger. And you may remember her if you've been around here for a while. She was always unmarried, and she worked for more than 50 years in the Ohio County Clerk's office. Subsequent owners were John and Stella Kasor in 1960, Charles Puglisi, 1983, Thomas and Barbara Eiseminger in 2004, and a San Diego, California company called Ocean Productions LLC in 2022. The current owner is architect Gus Kayafas, who lives across the street, and he is in the process, where'd he go? There he is. He's in the process of redoing this property, and we'll tell you all what's going on here. Okay. So, Gus.
Thank you. Your research, Gene, is just priceless. And it's the first time I'm hearing any of this. So we now have a name for the building, which is the Hastings Building.
House.
The Hastings House. Yeah, that's great. Sounds like a butler should live. Call him Hastings.
And it's amazing, from 1856 to 1930, the same family.
Right. Yeah, that's what we see in the previous house that you researched, at the Neal House, that it was passed on to a few generations. And I mentioned that earlier at an event we had at the Neal House, that this will probably pass on to my children, hopefully for generations. So what we're doing with this building is rehabilitating it. There's a difference between restoration and rehabilitation. Restoration is taking it back to a period of time, let's say 1870 when it was built, right? As opposed to rehabilitation is making it usable for today's time and usage and how people use buildings today. So you mentioned in your chronological ownership there that the Ismingers owned it, and they were caterers, and they actually did catering at the Hellenic Center, which is our church. And they bought this building and did a lot of work to it. They put a commercial kitchen in the back, and they prepared a lot of their foods here, and they did catering, outside catering, and they actually started doing some renovations upstairs. And then they got out of the catering business and the property sat empty. The company from California bought it and basically they flipped it to me. So unfortunately, I didn't buy it from the Ismagers as soon as I'd like to. So I mentioned the third floor being added, and I too have seen that difference in the brickwork from the second to the third floor. You can tell the second floor down has more layers of paint, basically. But you're right about the side elevation doesn't show that. But I think you're right, the third floor was added, or it might have been an attic, and maybe just never finished, and maybe the roof came down at a gable like the other two buildings to the north, and then they just simply chipped it up and made a third floor. The porch was modified. We know we found paper stuffed in a low concrete block wall around the front of the porch from 1963. So we do know that although the porch might have been original to the structure in the 1920s, that in 1963 they propped up the roof and they added steel posts and a concrete block of low wall and a concrete deck to kind of make it so it was not rotted, wood type of thing. So that's probably the biggest change we made to the exterior. We got rid of the concrete block wall and we kind of repurposed the steel posts and into the wrought iron lattice work of the railing. We added some Doric columns, being that it's a Greek revival. We added sort of a Greek round column there, and we want to make it kind of inviting and repeat the wrought iron railing that you see coming down the street. So we think that's a good addition. The room you're standing in here was the office of Ambiance Catering, and what they had done, and you'll see as we go upstairs, that they had stripped out all the woodwork in this building, and they furred out, meaning they added 2x4 studs and insulation to all the outside walls, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, they lost a lot of the original fabric. This room, however, they did retain as much as they could, and they reapplied the original woodwork. So the new, the existing 10-inch base that you see here is original. It's been reapplied. The walls are much thicker now. So you see as you look into the windows, the jambs there are thicker, but it is original two-piece window casing and door casing. They did add the crown molding. We're sure of that. This is probably the original wood tongue roof plank flooring that was refinished, and we just kind of thought we should keep it that way. So this is going to function probably for personal use, this lower level. My son has a gyro business called Philotimo Enterprises, if you haven't noticed. And so we're going to probably use this to maybe do some of that. He was excelled in college as a startup company to make and sell gyros. He put himself through college doing that. So we're going to probably keep that on this level. And what we've done on the upper floors is created a 2-bedroom apartment. And you'll see where we really had a challenge of trying to section off that stairway from the rest of the house. So you'll see sort of in progress where we actually retained the original stairway and encapsulated it with some wood and drywall and a doorway, okay? And should sometime in the future anyone want to bring this home back as a single family, the railing and balusters are still in place, and you can simply open it up and it's all there. I've opened up a lot of walls only to find that the stairway, balusters and handrail have been sawed off. I'm not going to do that. So on the upper floors, you'll see very little historic fabric, so to speak. But we're going to try to come up with something appropriate in scale. It's not going to match this. In fact, just today from Baird Lumber out of I think it's Canfield, Ohio, delivered us some painted poplar woodwork. And it'll be high in nature. The doors are somewhat traditional. And we're going to retrim it out with all new painted woodwork, okay? And you'll see some higher ceilings upstairs. The staircase is original, so all the woodwork you'll see up there, the newel post, the carved newel post here at the base and set is original, and the spindles and balustrade all the way up is original. So that's a nice piece of historic fabric. The fireplace mantles are not original. Those are repurposed. Bought them from a guy basically who was demolishing a building, had some mantles, so we had 3 of them, and we put 2 of them one on the first floor with a mirror, second floor with a mirror, third floor there's no mirror. Okay, they all do match, and that's sort of a tiger wood or oak. It's very aged. It originally wasn't that dark. The fireplaces were just decorative. They probably just burned coal originally. You can usually tell a coal burning fireplace from a wood burning. Coal burning fireplace burns much hotter, so the firebox is smaller. Okay, and then as the heating of homes evolved, they went from heating with coal. Then they would add gas piping and add a gas insert. And then after that, sometimes they would add radiators, and then after that, they would add forced air. So you'll see a lot of old buildings. These different systems are still in place. But we have a central heating and cooling system here. The home's been all rewired and insulated, so it's been brought up to code and such. What else can we tell you? You mentioned about a rear porch. The rear porch had completely deteriorated, so we removed the rear porch roof and columns. The concrete slab still remains. Right now, we just have a retractable awning over that, and we intend to maybe someday build a permanent roof over that. What else?
So do you have any plans to strip the wood and the floor and the interior?
No, probably what you see is how we're going to leave it. We like the natural wood mantelpiece. We're going to keep the floor. We might add a layer of polyurethane or something like that, repair the scratches, and try to give this first floor in the front room some sense of the period, in the 1870s, if you will, at least somewhat an historic feel to it. Okay.
You can tell that Gus is an architect by trade, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, we've done this now since 1989. We've bought a number of buildings on this street and doing that. It's been great. It's kind of a good thing for our retirement, and it's a good thing for my practice, and I just have a passion for it. I will tell you that this building qualifies for historic tax credits. So between the state of West Virginia and the federal government, they offer incentives if you follow their guidelines, and they will allow you to take tax credits up to 20% federal and 25% state. So that's 45 cents on the dollar of money we put in here. So if we put 100,000 in here, I will get $45,000 tax credit. So that's good. It creates a lot of incentive, and that's done to initiate preservation. Okay, and so that's going to help offset the costs here quite a bit, if you can imagine.
Well, this street is looking particularly handsome. How many properties on this street have you been involved in?
Well, since 1989, I'd say we have all the way to the corner,
Wow.
and then 2 across the street.
It's got to be one of the best looking blocks in the city.
Well, it's a great street. You can see it's really quiet here. We went from Slooky Nutting in 1987 when we first got married on 12th Street in a property called Churchfield, 101 12th Street. And we just loved living in these historic buildings. And actually 2306, 2308, she owned it with George McLaughlin. They were partners. They had a little business. They started a partnership. And she was our landlord at Churchfield. And she said, I have a building for sale, and I look at it. So she had actually restored the exterior, but the inside was yet to be furnished. And having a construction background, my dad was a contractor, carpenter, and we said, let's just buy it. It's a duplex. That's the best thing you can do is buy a duplex when you're maybe just starting out. So we did that. When we renovated one side, moved in it. Took us a year to fix the other side, and then just properties came up for sale, and we said, let's buy it.
So you still own them all?
Yeah, I sold one. It's 2308, which is directly next door, which is the right half of 2306, 2308. I did sell that, and I regret it.
Control.
But we have a good relationship with the current owner. But we have to do everything. And if he wants to paint his side of the building, I got to paint my side.
Right.
At least that's my thought. And so we've been working together to keep the building looking intact. So, but with the medical center coming up the street and Center Market is just off the charts. I mean, it's the only thing in town happening. As you know, north of Central Business District is just a disaster area. But even then, before all the improvements, it was just in decline. But Center Market is great. And so we have, I think, 17 apartments within these 7 buildings. And people just love living in Center Market. And we get people, really a lot of people from out of town are coming into Wheeling for jobs, or they just want a place to, they just want almost like sometimes they just throw a dart at the map and they like, we just think Wheeling, great place to live. So we like it, and people that come here do stay. We have tenants that stay for a long time. So.
All right, can we go anywhere?
You can go and take a self-guided tour, and we can answer one question maybe before we.
Okay.
I have a non-architectural question.
Yeah.
You said gyro. But yet I hear gyro.
Gyro, yes.
So what's right?
The correct pronunciation is gyro.
Okay, all right.
And gyro in Greek means round.
All right.
So, not only is it served on a round pita, but if you've ever seen how they slice the gyro meat, it's on a rotisserie vertical broiler.
That's been driving me crazy for years.
And I'm sure Joanne will get a picture of the logo for the.
Oh, I didn't.
Yes. All right, and we of course can't all go at the same time everywhere. So we'll let Gus lead the tour and then we will follow along. Okay.
Yeah, be careful. We try to eliminate as many hazards as possible in the home. But there's some rough steps here and there. There's some construction materials laying around, but it's all clean. Just don't trip over anything.
I'm not sitting on the porch.
All right.
Okay.
You're back to
So let's go up the steps.
Upstairs?
Lead the way.
I'll follow Gus.
I can walk.
You just follow.
I don't want any people left.
These are all people that are logging in.
If you want the one enterprises, we'll never forgive you. All right.
Hi.
So, we have original wainscoting, what they call Lincrusta, which is
Right.
pressed wood pulp and linseed oil. That's original. We repainted it. At the top.
Looks good.
Modifying the original, we came up with a pseudo replacement where it was missing.
That's pretty.
It has the vertical lines. It has some similar details. Once it's painted, you don't notice. Okay. Original balustrade. This was actually an oak. Ooh. Okay, this was actually originally oak, unpainted, and through the years it was painted. We've stripped down the paint on some of the. This is the portion of the where we encapsulated the balustrade. And we recreated a panel molding here, like you see down here. And this will become a doorway.
Okay.
Original opening was here. Previous owners had put an opening in here to kind of link the second floor with the first floor.
There's the other
Right. This is the living room.
kitchen.
Right. 2 closets. It's a really nice step down here. Sort of sunken kitchen. And we're going with sort of a painted shaker cabinet. Here's the flooring we're going to use. We created a small pantry here to hide the closet. This will be range. And back here, this will be, can either be a study or a bedroom. This was a repurposed hardwood oak floor.
Are you keeping the floor?
We're keeping the floor, we're going to refinish it. This is a new door we're going to use. It's a 5-panel. This is solid masonry, but the original doors were 5-panel. So we ordered new doors to match, but they're pre-hung, they're solid masonry.
Okay.
That would be a bathroom with a
Nice size
functional,
bathroom.
Stacked washer and dryer unit.
Shower. Okay.
And in there is a walk-in closet.
Whoop, excuse me. right?
Here's all the woodwork we're going to do.
This one came today, you think?
Right. So here's our baseboard is down there. This is the window trim. This is what you call finger jointed. You see, it's actually multiple pieces of wood. They cut out all the knots and then they glue the best stuff together. And it's actually jointed like fingers.
It's painted on the other side.
It's primed on the other side. That way you can get long, straight lengths.
Yeah.
So we got 16-foot lengths here. You see where the walls were furrowed out here?
Oh, yeah.
Insulated. That's the original wall. So along this lumber, we're going to create jamb extensions and new wood trim. These windows will be restored. These are original double hung windows. So they need some work yet.
They need love.
Yeah, they need a lot of TLC, but the National Park Service and the State Historic Preservation Office really frown on replacing windows if they can be repaired. Now you'll notice in the front of the building, they were replaced.
But you
by
didn't do that.
Previous owner. So if you're going to pursue tax credits, you're not responsible for previous owners' bad decisions, so to speak. So they can remain. Okay, and they're insulated windows, and they are very functional, but they're not original. All right, I'd like to do that. Oh, my partner in crime.
Hello?
He's the co-signer of all this.
Yes, I'm just a co-signer.
All right. Well, still up.
Third floor?
Third floor. So this area will be considered pretty much a small little vestibule, an entryway.
Now, will this be part of the,
Yes, this is all part of this apartment. So that's one
Okay.
bedroom, and then we have a master bedroom upstairs with a full bath.
Where will the entrance for this apartment be?
That door right where this gentleman's walking through. We'll have a door there.
Gotcha.
It'll actually be a French glass door. We want as much daylight coming through. And also, being that we're going to retain that old opening, but put a fixed doorway in. Because the National Park Service frowns on closing up doors, particularly when they're something of the main circulation. They'd rather you keep the door and seal it shut so that you know where the original. Yeah, that's in Washington, D.C. They actually have the final say.
The National Park?
because they're on the historic registry.
Right.
Oh, that.
And they,
I
yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know
So
what.
anything we submit goes to the State Historic Preservation Office, they review it, and then they send it to the Washington DC National Park Service to review. Okay, so behind here, you'll see, are the original balusters.
Right.
And the handrails actually still.
They'll be there.
So that can be removed at any time in the future to open up to a single-family residence. Okay, so we'll go into this large room.
Ooh, I like
These walls
this.
are original, so we just reconfigured a little bit on the other room to create a master bath. This is a very nice master bedroom. Vision of the headboard here. Great view, Chapline
Yep.
Street.
So the second and third floor are the one apartment?
Yes.
Got it.
And this is where they say, you see this third floor is not as deep. That's why we think this was actually an addition.
That's the other, that's the house next door.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what happened. So,
Well, that's part of this house.
correct. No,
Not there.
it's just 3 feet between houses. That's how close.
What they
are.
used
It
to
looks
allow.
like it's part of this house, but if you look out there, you'll see there's a gap. You could actually open your window and
Share with your
neighbor a
neighbor.
cup of sugar. This is our door, 300 door. It's going to be installed.
Okay. Restroom,
Okay, here's our
master
Master
ensuite.
Walk into the closet there. This is our bathroom, beautiful vanity.
Yeah.
This was a closet over the stair. We just removed the door. There'll be shelves in there. There'll be a 4-foot shower.
I love the vanity Big shower.
And my daughter Angelina's an interior designer, so she just picked out all the finishes.
Really?
Yeah, so this is something she selected, and
I love it.
we have ceramic tile that's going in here yet. This and the floor there.
Wow.
So we are very close. We're a month away from being done. believe me.
There's another bath.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So that concludes our tour.
Now, can we go back downstairs and go beyond the kitchen?
We cut that up to access an electrical box.
Oh,
We're right down below there.
where is Jean? Oh, there she is. No, she's right here.
In May. Okay, thank you for joining us on the tour this evening, and we look forward to next month, where we will be touring the after work done at the Smart Center. So, have a good evening.